right, guys, welcome to the Guest Life Podcast, episode 17. Today we have the professional Canadian champ, Kevin Higson, in the house. He's from Hamilton, Steeltown Boxing Club. We're going into the Guest Life Podcast, episode 17. I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody that tunes in when we air these. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and it's so nice getting the feedback as well as the support from the community and getting leaders like Kevin on here. We're going to hear his story today and a little bit about how he came up from the ranks. And I've known Kevin for a number of years now through some long nights and also, seeing his boxing career develop, as well as hearing a little bit about his story today.
Part of the wedding party as well.
I might have been up there. So everybody, this is Kevin Higson, and we're happy to have him on board.
Thanks, brother. Glad to be here, man.
So Kevin is a professional boxer at Steeltown Boxing Club. He's also the NCC Super Welterweight Champion and the NABA Canadian Super Welterweight Champion. Right now, obviously with COVID, he's not fighting, but he's also a licensed sheet metal mechanic for a big company out in Mississauga. Vaughan. Sorry. Out in Vaughan.
Got lost there for a minute.
Yeah, he's a husband, and he's a new father to Chuck.
Little Chuck.
So thanks for coming, Kev.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about, the boxing career. Kevin's had over 100 amateur fights. Hamilton born. Steeltown Boxing Club says a lot about it.
There you go, yeah.
How Hamilton proud he is. But yeah, he started from the bottom. Now he's here. And tell us a little about your story.
Yeah, man. I started boxing when I was 16 years old. Right out of high school. I just got together with my then or now wife, then girlfriend. And the second I walked into that boxing club, I fell in love. I knew I wanted to be a professional boxer. I didn't think about going to the Olympics. My main goal is to be a professional. Just the smell of those gloves and getting ready to throw down. It was inspiring for me.
Yeah, and I remember going to the gym. I was chubby as a kid, and I remember, Kev says, "Oh, why don't you come by the gym?" And I think I lasted about a week doing laps around the gym and trying to figure out how to wrap my hands. And then, I quit pretty quickly. So
it gets tiring. Boxing's one of those sports where it's so repetitious that you either fall in love or you get really bored with it quick.
And at 16, is that a young age to get involved in boxing? Is it a little bit old, or is that kind of right in the middle?
It's kind of old. Like a lot of guys get into it when they're really young. And I don't know. I found it a little bit later in my life. And I don't know. I think I did pretty well for where I'm at now. So I got no regrets for that way.
And then when are you allowed to start amateur boxing
You can start training really at any age. Like they have little kids class at my gym, and there's 6-year-old there, 8-year-olds, but they can't fight until they're, I think it's 11 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. And
is that changing, or is that developing as you go through?
What do you mean? In what sense?
Like when you're an amateur boxer, like I remember just going and they asked me to spar, and I got punched in the face and my contact fell out, and and I was like, yeah, this is just not for me.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not this isn't what they say in the movies. Yeah. So how does an amateur get started if that's something they wanted to do?
Well, they come to the gym, they get put through the paces at first. Like you learn how to wrap your hands, you learn how to throw a punch correctly, and then they'll kind of not throw you in, but with little kids, they take a little more precaution. You start sparring a little bit, and you learn if you like it or not. The little kids, I tell you, they fucking like it though. They go at it, man. Even before they can fight, they start swinging in the gym, and then if they stick around, they end up getting into real fights, and they do well, man, when they start that young.
Fearless.
They don't care. It's like, when I fight, I throw a lot of punches, but you watch a little kid fight, they don't stop, man. It's like they got endless wind capacity in their lungs, man.
Yeah. It's
unbelievable.
It's like getting back on the ice with the young guys, and the AAA kids at the shinny are just running circles around us.
Yeah, exactly.
So how so take us through, what was your your amateur career? Over 100 fights.
Yeah, I used to about 100 fights. Yeah,
I used to come watch you. I remember it was a big deal when you were pro downtown, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But yeah, your amateur fighting. Like, what is a day in the life of an amateur boxer?
Well, the difference between an amateur and pro. Most of the time, when you're gonna fight. You get maybe a few months to prepare unless you get called late notice. But amateur fights come up like that. Like we'd have, hey, you want to fight? It's Friday. You want to fight on Saturday? Like, yeah, fuck, I'm in the gym every day. Why not? So for me, it was going to work every day, going to the gym every night, doing my road work in the morning or at night, either way, and then just taking a fight whenever a fight came. So some days we'd be piling into a van, heading down the QEW every other weekend, and never got tiring. Just, you want to fight? Yeah, sure, why not? It's great.
He's got a face only a mother could love, eh?
Exactly. Still a little pretty,
Yeah.
Didn't take too many beatings.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. So, I mean, I know so much about Kev, so I'm trying to pick out how I can get the audience to get a little bit more in depth. Tell us a little bit about your favorite road trip that you did with the Van Boys back in the day.
Well, a lot of the time we went to Ottawa quite a bit. We had a coach out there that he put on shows a lot, and he brought us to help fill his card. And there was at Steeltown, I grew up with about 3 or 4 kids that I'm still great friends with now, and we grew up in the amateurs, and we're all professional now. So we were always, like you said, jumping in the van, and we go down there. I loved going to Ottawa just because we had such a good relationship with the coach there. His name was Eric Belanger. He put on a lot of club shows, and we went down there. And some nights we'd stay the night. Other times we'd be driving out of Ottawa. You're driving to weigh in. You drive 5-6 hours to get there. You weigh in, you fight, and we would come right home. Like, we wouldn't even stay in a hotel. We'd just go fight and come home. So you get your Sunday to relax. So you didn't have to drive home Sunday and then go to work on Monday.
And all your prize money that you won at those big time amateur events.
Oh yeah, tons of money. It was all glory back then, man. No money at all. Get a medal. I got a box of medals somewhere.
Was there? You think you could sell those now?
Oh man, to the right bidder, priceless, buddy.
Tell us a little bit about, like, was there a gritty thing being from Hamilton, being Steeltown and being a boxer?
Yeah, I always took pride in being from Hamilton and being a fighter from Hamilton. I made up this little saying with my older brother, because he used to help with some of my training. He used to do my strength and conditioning. I made up the saying. I called it Nitty Gritty Steel City. And we always said that to each other when because he trained me more when I was a professional. I always said that before fights. Nitty Gritty Steel City, ready to just go in there and fight. I had a sense of pride being from Hamilton, because I was a tough blue collar guy, just like most people from Hamilton. And I took that into the ring with me, and I still do now. So I got pride that way.
Yeah, because you always had that pro, like, boxer mentality. Because again, for the audience here that's listening, I know the system. So there's a pro style fighting and an amateur style fighting, because amateur's more points, correct?
Points, yeah.
Yeah, and pro, you're just trying to knock the guy's head off.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Are you with the body shot?
Yeah, I try to knock him with a body shot. I always had an aggressive style, as you would. I wasn't really a point fighter. I tried to hit you as many times as I could in 3 minutes of the round. And then if I won at the end, I won. If I lost, I lost, But I always gave it 100%, win or lose.
And how do you think how do you think your amateur career trained you to become a pro boxer?
See, a lot of guys, it's a tough way to put it, because some pro boxers have hundreds and hundreds of amateur fights, but they're not good pro boxers. Some people have 20 pro fights. I know a few very good fighters from Canada who haven't had didn't have even as much amateur experience as me, and they're great pros. It just depends your mentality, I think, and your style. That's kind of the way I look at it.
And what do you think makes a good fighter?
Their head, man. If you got the mentality to not give up and not quit, and you're just mentally tough, I think that's going to take a long way. Like, we went to a lot of tournaments in Kansas City. It was called the Kansas City Ringside World Championship. It was run by Ringside, which is an equipment company.
Yep.
They sell gloves and they sell everything. But they had the biggest amateur boxing tournament ever. Like, you'd go there, it was the most intimidating thing you ever seen. I went there, I think I was 17 the first time I went. It's intimidating, man. 6 rings, thousands of fighters. You line up to do your weigh-in. Takes hours because so many fighters, and just fights for 4 days straight. And you see thousands and thousands of these American fighters, Canadian fighters, people from all over the world. I think that taught me to be mentally tough, because you go through situations like that, and it's either sink or swim, basically.
And you're fighting back to back, right?
You fight one day, and if you win, you go on to the next day. If you lose, you're out of the tournament. I went down there and I lost my first fight the one year. I was like, oh, okay. I took my week vacation from work to come and lose. That was great.
Yeah.
But no, it was a great experience. Then the next show I went, I did better. I won, I think, my first 2 fights, and then I lost in the semifinals. So
Wow.
yeah, it gets better and better.
And what weight class do you always fight at?
Right now, it's called light middleweight. In amateurs, it was pretty close weight. I fight at 154 pounds right now. In the amateurs, it was 152. I fought at 152 in the amateurs, but I was always a little bit lighter because with being diabetic, it was a little tough for me to cut weight. I didn't really understand how to lose weight that quickly and not impact your performance.
Yeah.
So I fought a little bit heavier, but I've basically been at that weight my whole life, 152 to 154, and I fight at 154 now, and I make it pretty comfortably. A little bit of a cut, but nothing drastic.
Yeah, and I always notice that being a buddy of yours, watching you kind of like you get so, you were always in such great shape, and then you just make small adjustments when you became a boxer. Like
Yeah.
you had to fight.
Yeah, like I always took pride to always stay in decent shape, even if I wasn't fighting. I got that from my amateur experience. Like I always was in the gym, even if I wasn't fighting, because, like I said, fight could come up at any day. Hey, you want to fight tomorrow? And obviously I was in the gym, so I'd say yes. It's a little different now because the pros and with COVID going on, I don't know when I'm going to fight again. But that always instilled me to always stay in shape. So I was always close to my weight. Last week or so was a little fine tuning. You're not putting dressing on your salad no more. You're just taking that out and you're eating a can of tuna for lunch, maybe a little bit of oatmeal, skipping dinner, which is a little tough for a diabetic, but I got a system and it works.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that for anybody that doesn't know. Kevin's type 1 diabetic, and you would not know that unless unless you went to a bar with him, and people would ask him why he's shooting up in the middle of the bar. But yeah, he's it blows me away being his friend, and you're a big mentor to me in terms of like what you can put your body through in terms of work ethic and a daily routine. But tell us a little bit about some of the challenges and also some of the things that might have been an asset because you were so aware of how your body was handling it.
Yeah, it's always been tough. Like I got type 1 diabetes at a later age in my life. I was 16 right before I started boxing. It basically got me into boxing.
No way.
Which is weird because my older brother's a type 1 diabetic. I've got 2 brothers. My one brother, he's a type 1 diabetic, but he got it, I think he was 6 years old. So I got it very late in life, which was kind of weird. It made me think maybe something I was doing in my life made my body break down or something, but I don't think that's the problem. But yeah, it kind of steered me to get into boxing because, like I said, I thought I wasn't living a healthy life or whatever. And then boxing kind of took control of that. It made me eat better. It made me exercise regularly. And I've kept that notion in my head till today.
And like on a daily routine, like, so you said you run in the morning.
Either in the morning or at night. Depends how tired I am from work. Some days getting up at 5 and running is not the most desirable thing to do. So I do it before bed. But yeah before a fight, running is one of my main things. A lot of guys, if they don't work, they're putting in 2-3 a day trainings, but I can't really do that. So I make running one of my biggest assets. So I get my good run in, do hill sprints, I do wind sprints, and then I get my boxing training, either bag work or hand pads, sparring, and that's pretty much it. Running and bag work, or running and gym work.
And that's how many hours a day?
About the gym, I'm at probably 2.5 hours at the gym, and then the run's usually anywhere, depending how I'm feeling, from a half hour to an hour.
Yeah.
And then just a nice stretch out, do a little shadow boxing, and then...
And you got to work in between that.
And I got to work in between. But you know what?
And your wife still loves you, Jen.
She still loves me, yeah. She's still sticking by me, so...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from kind of, pro boxing to making it, not a transfer because you were still doing your HVAC career and kind of, managing all your time into your day-to-day life.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't a huge transition because before I got into boxing, like, I always had a part-time job in high school, and, like, the second I got out of high school, I had a full-time job. So I always had that work ethic to put the work in, which I think transitioned into the gym because if you don't put the work in, you don't see the result. So I've always kind of looked at it that way. And I mean, I can complain and say, oh man, like I don't get to train as much. I got a full-time job, but hey man, you you deal with the hand you're dealt, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much it.
And you're still holding 2 belts currently.
Yeah. Still working, man. Still the classic working man.
Yeah, well, and I that's why I got you on the show. I think it's just such a great story in terms of someone that it's not like you're just born into some wild ability. It's just hard work and
It's
grind.
hard work, man. It's funny you say that because I always said to myself that my dad always says that I'm too hard on myself, but I always didn't think that I was the most talented person. I always thought I lacked certain things. I didn't have the super fast twitch muscle or the massive knockout power, but I always worked hard, and I said, if I'm not gonna beat you, I'm gonna give you one hell of a night. So that's basically it, man.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's if you beat me, it's whatever. You beat me, but you're gonna be sorry. That's pretty much it.
You're gonna wake up with some bleeding kidneys.
Yeah, bleeding kidneys.
Yeah. And then tell us a little bit about being from Hamilton, and obviously it was a huge deal when you got to fight in Hamilton because they weren't allowing it for a while.
Yeah.
Remember that was a big deal. So tell us a little bit about the pride of Hamilton and how that's affected your career.
Well, it's kind of cool. I always, like I said, I pride myself in being from Hamilton. I love being from Hamilton. Like the promoters would put on a show. It'd be a great show in Hamilton, and they'd always have an after party after, but I'd always have my own after party with the fans that came to support me, like, hey, you coming to the after party? Sorry, buddy, I got the local bar that we're going to show all the people that came and bought tickets off me to give them the love back, because it was great. I'd walk into the bar and everyone started cheering, and it's a great feeling. I've always, I wanted to be that guy that just related to the people, because it's, like I said, it's a blue collar work ethic, you know what I mean? And a lot of people, I think, get down with that because that's who they are, and that's what Hamilton is. So it's nice.
Yeah. Well, I've been at that bar.
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, it's a good time. You know what I mean? Like, I think people that think it comes easy, whether it's boxing championship or career or family life, it's a lot of hard work, and it's just dedication. It's consistency. Yeah. And I think whatever way that you're maneuvering your career, that's what you got to put in if you want to succeed.
Yeah, you put the hard work in. You have the bad days. Like, I wake up some days dead tired, got my ass kicked in sparring the night before, hard day at work, whatever. You wake up some days and you're like, fuck, man, like, this is tough. Like, why do I want to do this?
Yeah.
But it's something that drives you to go, and it's you got to instill that in yourself to keep going.
So what are your biggest, what are you striving for? What are some of your biggest, kind of rewarding moments within your career?
It was nice to win the Canadian titles. I've fought for 3 or 4 Canadian titles now. I lost one of them, and or one of the fights. But yeah, like, I don't have any major huge goals. I want to fight. You know what I mean? I want to try and prove that I belong with some of the bigger guys. Like I said, if I lose, it's still gonna be a tough night for you, and I just want to prove that I belong there. If I don't win a world title, I'd like to make $1 million. Don't get me wrong. Make a fight where I make $1 million, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I like fighting. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
31.
So where do you see your boxing career in the next couple of years? And think you're gonna get in the ring with Chuck?
Yeah, I get the gloves on Chuck. Show him how to throw a few punches. But that's the thing. Like, I don't consider myself old, but I'm getting older. I got a family now. It's secondary now. They come first. My kid and my wife, they come first. Like, if I can't do what I love to do, but I can support them, I'm a winner, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is doing what you love to do, then.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about kind of, what advice would you give to, the next generation that wants to kind of get into what you're doing or get into the ring? Where do they get started? How would they navigate the career? And kind of like, what's the ideal mentality of a boxer or a professional athlete? Because really, I mean, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a hobby.
100%. It's not a hobby at all. It's a lifestyle. You eat clean, you live clean, you work your ass off in the gym. For me, you work your ass off at work as well. My only advice for the kids is just to, if you want to get into it, know that you're gonna work hard, work your ass off, and that's gonna make the sacrifice worth it, and that's gonna make the results happen.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Just hard work.
just hard work, man.
Yeah. And then like, is there a specialty to get punched, or like, do you have to?
You just be tough, man. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah, you gotta like that.
You gotta like it.
Yeah, it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And then what do you like in terms of coaching? Like, what did you? I guess what do you look for in a coach? Because I think when we talk about mentorship, whether it's in business or in sport, I think the coach is a big part and a big asset to that. And I find, I'm I just got involved with a group called Tech. So it's a peer coaching mentorship with also like a head chair who does, who kind of leads the team. But I'm finding it, at this stage of my life and my career, that this coach that I haven't had a coach in years, right? Especially when you feel alone sometimes. I'm sure you feel like that in the ring. What do you think, a coach does for your mindset and your career and your, your path to the next level?
See, I think the biggest thing with a coach is because they say to not, like, you have your strengths and your weaknesses, right? And a lot of coaches, if they see your strengths, they just kind of like, they leave that alone because you're already strong at it. But I don't think that's right. You still need to nurture those strengths. Obviously, the main goal is to work on the weaknesses, but you still have to nurture those strengths and let the person know that, fuck, you're good at what you're doing. Like that, like you're good at so-and-so, you're good at this, but let's work on this. But keep reminding people how good they are at one thing, because that's going to give you confidence. Like if you think you're good at something, like say I go in the ring, I'm good at a left hook to the liver or a left hook to the head, but like it's never instilled in me, like, that's working. Keep working on that. It's nice to hear those things that you are doing something good. So it's just like positive reinforcement, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I know sometimes I find people that are successful or people that are, leaders in whatever they're doing, it's hard to get the compliments sometimes.
Yeah.
But it is reassuring when it's like, oh, you know what, it's not without hard work. It's
Exactly.
Not like, it's not like, hey, you're doing well. It's like, okay, I don't need to be told. I don't need a yes person behind me and a cheerleader, right? Well, cheerleaders are nice, but not in that context, right? Not from your coach, right? You want some tough love, but also I think it's important to understand that, the direction that you're going is based on what you're good at, and that's how you got there usually. Yeah. But there's always room to improve.
Well, that's the thing, because like it doesn't help to be caught along and being told you're the best at everything, but it's nice to get a pat on the back every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like everybody likes, hey, you're doing a good job, man. That makes your day. Yeah. You're sparring or you're at work, you do something good at work. It's nice to say, man, that's a good fucking job. That's gonna make your day, and it's gonna mentally make you stronger. If you just hear what you did wrong all the time, you're not gonna grow. You're just gonna, maybe you will, but it's gonna make you pretty tough and bitter towards people.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like it's also like when you're wanting to consistently get better to the next level, right? Like you want to move through the paces, you want to excel. Like it depends. I find that's what I was always reluctant with coaches. That's why it took me so long to get one for business side, because I thought, wow, I don't want to be limited by what they think of me. Yeah. Right? I want to push that envelope. But I think, for people that are getting into it, a coach can be a great driving factor, but you have to know where they come from. And one of the things is like, if you look at some of the NBA coaches that are 5'7", or even 6 foot that couldn't play in the NBA, like those aren't the people. Like you don't have to be the best boxer to be the best boxing coach.
100%.
Right?
I know many very, very great fighters that are terrible coaches. Yeah. It doesn't always transition.
Yeah. I find it's very similar with life and business. Right?
100%.
Like I was just trying to always find this mentor that would be this perfect business model for me and so successful and all this thing. And then I got to thinking like, well, that person probably doesn't have time to be coaching me. Yeah. Right? It's the people that are working on their listening skills and their ability to train and their ability to push, right? And also like, know when to, jab a wound and know when to kind of pick somebody up or, give them a 100%. Hug. I think it's really
tough
important.
Love works, but it doesn't always work. It doesn't work when the guy's down, or that's why I know a lot of coaches in boxing, it might be a little different to your situation, But a lot of coaches in boxing, they say like, well, I'm not friends with my fighters. And to an extent, I agree, but to an extent, I don't. Because you need to know your fighter or you need to know your business partner. Like, you can't just expect to spout things at people and shout at them and they're just going to know what you're talking about. You got to kind of know that person on a level, when to hold back on the tough love and when to kind of be a nicer person. You have to get to know someone a little bit. So you do, in a sense, need to be friends with your person that you're working with.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's great, man.
Yeah.
So let's kind of get a little bit into this new portion of your life. So you're a new father, right? I was at your wedding, so I know you're married now. So you're a fresh husband. So tell me a little bit about how you're transitioning to, the next chapter of your life. And I know, I've seen you at home with the little guy, so I know kind of how you're excelling at that. But take us through a day in the life of Big Daddy Kev.
Big Daddy Kev is he's in love, man. He loves being a dad.
Yep.
The second my kid was born, I was like, this is like, I love boxing. Don't get me wrong, I love boxing, and I want to hopefully get some more fights. But it's like the second that kid was born, my life changed. My life completely changed. I love being at home. That's why it's so tough to go to the gym right now if nothing's going on, no fights. Like, it's a transition from always being in shape to always wanting to be at home. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to miss those little things. I love seeing that my kid grow. I love being around him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the best feeling.
Yeah. And then, so what do you think? You're going to get him involved? You're going to put him on the gloves? You're going to, coddle him a little bit? You're going to hold him back? You're going to be one of those dads?
Well, I already bought him a pair of gloves, so you know what I mean? But
you're not talking about the ones that everyone hangs from the mirror.
No. He's got some legit gloves. He puts them on himself. But no, I don't care if my kid fights. I want him to learn. That's the one thing I want him to learn, to defend himself. Yeah. So I'm going to teach him how to box, and no one's going to pick on my kid. So he's got to know how to defend himself. If he wants to pursue it and actually compete, he can. But it's a tough road, man. It's
Is your dad going to get him on the ice, or what was he thinking?
Golf, man. Got to get him into the golf. Take the kid golfing.
Yeah, that's what he wants?
Yeah, man. Or baseball.
Yeah.
So I can just bring the cooler, set it down.
Yeah, there we go.
Watch the kid play some baseball, man. That's what I want. But like I said, I want him to defend himself, and if he wants to get into it, he can. But there's no pressure from me at all. It's a tough sport, and you got to have a tough heart, man. And I don't want my kid to break his heart that way.
Yeah, it's good. Good advice. So yeah, guys, so just, I want to thank Kev for being on the show. It's been awesome, kind of reminiscing. I know his story so well, but you always learn something new every time you chat. So yeah, guys, just thinking, if you're ever thinking, Kev was 16 when he made the decision to get into boxing, not a long time after, he's, Canadian champ with 2 different belts. So we always ask the question on the show, why not me? Why not now? And Kev's story is just one of those ones of just hard work, consistency, and grit. And
grit, I like that.
Yeah. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen him, come home with swollen eye, and I've seen him, not being able to drink for months on end because he's trying to get in shape. So the hard work pays off. Doesn't matter what you're doing it in. But thank you guys for listening, and thanks so much, Kev, for being on the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the love. I really do.
And all his stuff will be online. Is at Steeltown Boxing Club is where he trains at, and you'll see his social on the post. So thanks again, Kev, for coming. And remember, everybody that tuned in, thank you for watching the Guest Life podcast. And why not me? Why not now? That's a big question of the day.
Thanks a lot, brother. Glad to be here, man.
Okay.